All right, it's time to draw your grid. Now, for your grid, you are going to be using a 2H or a 4H pencil, whatever I gave you in your bins. Either will work just fine. I am going to use a 2 pencil because I need you to be able to see it. So your steps are on your handout, and it's time to draw out your grid and draw out the skull so that you can create your practice painting. So let's go ahead and get started. So we're going to use our rulers, and the first thing that we need to do to get started is to make our grid. So you can see that I'm going to start with the inches side. Remember, the inches side is the bigger side, so we're not using the littler one, we're going to use the bigger side. And we need to measure from the 0, right? So not the end of the ruler, but from this long line that's right next to the 0. So you will take your ruler and you're going to line it up with the top of your tiny paper, just like this, and make sure that there's a little bitty gap showing. Okay, so this is 3 inches, and when we look at our reference, we know that we need to make a 3-inch grid at the top. So I'm going to make a tiny line at the 1 inch and a tiny line at the 2 inch, just like this. Next, I will bring the ruler down to the bottom, and I'm going to just kind of clamp it down a little bit here and make a little line at the 1 inch and a little line at the 2 inch, just like that. So I've done the top and the bottom. And next it's time to do the left and the right. So I'm going to go over here and line the 0 up with the top, and I will make a mark at 1, 2, 3, and 4. And so you'll see that this is 4.5 inches, so the last little square of your grid is going to be a small square. So making sure that you keep the ruler so that the 0 is at the top and the 4.5 is at the bottom, because we want our little section to be at the bottom on both sides. You're going to make a little mark at the 1, 2, 3, and 4, just like you did before. So you should have all of your tick marks set up. Next, you will take the ruler and draw a very light line that you will have to erase later, so make sure it's a very light line connecting each of your tick marks for your grids. Okay, and then I'll turn the paper. Just like that. So you end up with all these little boxes just like this, so that you will be able to then draw in all of this on your paper. So I'm not going to do a whole video drawing this in because I think you all have had experience drawing a grid before, but I do want to briefly remind you what you're doing. So what you might find helpful to do is to put your little grid paper down on top of this example on your practice. And then whatever you see in this box, you're going to draw down here in this box, trying to maintain your proportional relationships, making sure that your sizes are approximately the same. And I'm going to do that by drawing a little bit on the side and a little bit on this side, and then making it match up. And then I'll draw a little bit over here, and then I have this little gap thing, and you have the finished example right above you, so you can see kind of where you're going with this while you're drawing it in. But these are just the outlines for where your skull values are going to go. So over here. Okay, and then we need to draw in this little section here. It's going to be the very, very dark value, just like that. Okay, so one more square. You're going to continue this through here, right, because a little bit of it pokes through, and this part is going to come up here, and then it's going to go back down here, and it'll come out here. I like to mark out where the lines are going to intersect with the grid so that I remember while I'm doing it, right? So I'm going to check this up here. You go ahead and do it whatever way makes you feel comfortable. So I'm going to draw it like this, and then, okay, we're going around. Up to the top, and then I'm just drawing like that and making sure that this goes, ooh, it's gonna go all the way up there. And going down here. Okay, so you just continue through until you have the entire skull drawn out little bit by little bit. Make sure you're checking to make sure that it matches up. When you're finished, then you're going to erase the grid lines before you move on.